A series of resignations from the ruling National Party SNP by First Minister Nicola Sturgeon has revealed the deep division in the camp of Scottish independence supporters. Over the weekend, 2 MPs, several local politicians and 2 members of the SNP party executive joined the new Labour Party of former Prime Minister Alex Salmond I talked about yesterday. They are running for Labour in the Edinburgh parliamentary elections in early May. This could help the propagated secession from England to a supermajority, gave the former head of government as a reason. As party leader for more than 2 decades, Salmond established the SNP as moderately social democratic in the European context. In 2007, he ousted the long-dominating Labour Party from power in Edinburgh, and 4 years later even won an absolute majority of seats, but failed in 2014 with his dream of independence. After 55% of the Scots had voted to remain in the UK, Salmond submitted his resignation from the party and state office. For the past 3 years, he has been the focus of an opaque affair involving alleged sexual crimes against younger female officials during his tenure as First Minister. Against the disciplinary investigation by Sturgeon's government, Salmond sued the highest civil court at the highest civil court in the country and received the right and £512,000, that's 597,000 euros, from the Treasury. He was acquitted on all charges in the criminal proceedings last March. At the virtual presentation of Alba in the hardly spoken regional Gaelic, the word for Scotland, the party chairman expressly called on the electorate to cast the first vote for the SNP. This means that the MPs for the 73 constituencies, that reminds me of this year, are determined by majority voting. With a second vote, the voters decide on 56 regional seats according to the ratio of the votes cast. In contrast to the election to the German Bundestag, for example, there are no compensatory or overhang mandates, with the result that parties already richly blessed with constituency representatives have little hope of additional mandates. Salmond points out, not completely wrongly, that several 100,000 SNP second votes fell under the table in the last ballot. Should Alba attract 5% of these votes and also poach a little with the Greens and Labour, between 5 and 8 seats for the Scotland Party would be conceivable. Based on the latest surveys, the market researcher Survation estimates the number of mandatories who advocate independence at 78, including Alba. The share could rise to 83, a whopping majority in the 129-seat Edinburgh Parliament. Opponents spoke of a plan to satisfy Salmond's personal vanity and out of vengeance on alleged justice suffered, and I have the feeling too, I'm honest. How nervous his previous comrades react was made clear by the caustic reaction of the SNP parliamentary group leader in the House of Commons, that's Ian Blackford, to the departure of the former Scottish Justice Minister Kenneth MacAskill, who had turned out to be increasingly an embarrassment, as he said, which is why the exit provokes relief. Sturgeon herself turned fire on her former mentor and political friend. Salmond had considerable questions to answer as to whether his return to politics was appropriate, said the campaigner, not without hypocritically adding that she did not enjoy saying this. Columnist Alex Massey alluded more brutally and openly to Salmond's misconduct against younger women, which was admitted in criminal proceedings. His new initiative is the political counterpart to revenge porn, he said. Salmond himself brushes the subject aside. I want to talk about the future of Scotland. The fratricidal struggle in the nationalist camp will by no means cause enthusiasm in the camp of the union parties, analyzes the social scientist Jan Eichhorn from the University of Edinburgh. Because television thrives on conflict, the broadcaster would be looking for reasons to include Salmond in the upcoming debates. Then the representatives of Labour, Conservatives and Liberal Democrats would quickly be marginalized. Salmond himself achieved high negative values in surveys according to Eichhorn. But there is also a significant minority of socially conservative supporters of independence who think he's great. With Salmond's move, the independence advocates are threatening to split into two divided camps: the independent analyzers. If Salmond's personal campaign of revenge against Nicola Sturgeon now becomes the main topic of the election campaign, then it can hardly benefit the broader nationalist cause. Salmond sees Sturgeon as his apprentice who has turned to the dark side. No, she's not an Anakin. That is not a promising basis for a partnership in Parliament to force a second independence referendum. Salmond's return to the main political stage can only be bad for the independence movement. As I said the independents. The pro-British parties in the Scottish Parliament should finally open their eyes and form an electoral alliance, the Daily Telegraph urges. The tragedy is that the parties advocating the preservation of the UK regularly steal votes from each other and give the separatists one victory after another. If Salmond is successful in the election, his candidates will join the SNP in the Scottish Parliament to form a nationalist majority. Perhaps he will deny Nicola Sturgeon an absolute majority for the SNP, but despite the poisonous war of words between the two, Salmond stated that he and his candidates would support Sturgeon as head of government because she was the only credible candidate. And that were not my words, that was the Daily Telegraph, as I said right before that. But they are right with one thing. Whatever Albert gets, in the end, it will be pro-independence, and in the end, it will also be pro-Sturgeon. But the same goes because of the wish for independence, definitely too for the Greens. And so it's getting more and more interesting. But as a Democrat, of course, I'm hoping for another referendum so the people have a voice in this completely new circumstances. And if you want to stay informed, please subscribe to my channel. Auf Wiedersehen.